Carlo, Kiyan Sobhani from Managing Madrid. I'm wondering if you can speak about how you approach this game differently than the City game. Not necessarily with your lineup, but the tactical approach, because these are two teams that play different kinds of football. City gave Real Madrid much more space. Atletico will play different. What are the conversations you have in the training ground tactically before a game like this?
Contesto como? It doesn't change a lot. Of course, we have to take in consideration the characteristic of the team, the opponent team. Atletico is more vertical. Maybe you can use more than City the counter-attack. City has a game with less possession from our side, and so we have to take in consideration this, but we don't have to change our style, our mentality, and our approach to the game.
What's up, guys? Kiyan Sobhani here, Managing Madrid podcast. We're doing this one a little bit differently today. I am outside Valdebebas with my iPhone, and Lucas Navarrete is not here with me. He is going to be with me tomorrow at the stadium. He got a little bit lazy today, let's be honest. Lucas did not feel like coming all the way to Valdebebas because, to be honest, I don't blame him. It's a pain to get to. It's not easy to get to. You got to go through this whole thing just to see, Real Madrid train for 15 minutes, which you can, by the way, just watch live on Real Madrid TV anyway, without having to leave your house. And then get into a very hot press conference room with every seat packed and then ask a question. And in my case, the only one asking in English, so the entire room just turns around and stares at you while you do it.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
So I put that clip at the beginning of this podcast where I asked Carlo about maybe the difference in tactical approach. He didn't give me much. I didn't expect him to give me much. I improvised with that question. Everyone was asking about lineups and Fede and Asensio and Vasquez, so kind of just threw that one on the spot. I'll try to come up with maybe a more clever question tomorrow based on how the game goes. I have 5 talking points I'm going to rip through before I leave the training facility today. So training just ended. The big news was Fede Valverde is training normally and he looked fine. The press conference was before the training session. There was a lot of if he's healthy, will he play, will he not? We knew he was going to train on some level, but we weren't sure what level he's going to be at, and we still don't really know. My eye test, just watching it, he looked fine to me. But I don't know. I'm not Pintus, and I'm not diagnosing him properly, from a balcony for 15 minutes. He looked good, and Ancelotti said in the press conference, if Fede can't play, it's going to be Lucas Vasquez, not Asensio at right back, which of course doesn't really tell us necessarily that Asensio is going to be on the bench because he could still play center back in that situation, so we don't know. That being said, here's talking point number 1. This is going to be vastly different to the Manchester City ties for a couple reasons. One is the obvious, is that they're just better than Manchester City. A lot of teams are making Manchester City look really bad and therefore making themselves look really good this season. The City games, both of them were our 2 best performances of the season. And it's kind of bittersweet because, as you guys know, I tried to pump the brakes with that win by stating, a lot of people look good against City. We have to just come up against a better opponent and see what happens. And of course, we have come against better opponents and we've seen what has happened in those games. Atletico being one of them. Atletico have given us problems for ages. Obviously the only team to beat us last season. And this season have given us all kinds of hell. And I think this season they're a better team than they were last season. This is actually, statistically speaking, this is the best Atletico team defensively since one of the Into the Calderon posts about it over the weekend actually had it. I think it was 2017, 2018. They're on pace to have their best defense in some 6 years. Defense looks great. They have a very informed Julian Alvarez. Marcos Llorente looked great on the weekend. Jan Oblak is starting to look like Jan Oblak. And so this is a very good team who knows how to get under our skin, who is going to close up shop way better than City did. City gave us just free red carpet breakaways after free red carpet breakaways over and over again. And obviously Atletico are just going to zip up those channels defensively. They're good in transition. So we have to deal with that. Back to the City thing, it's a bit bittersweet because, as I said, you got to pump the brakes after a game like that. That was on one hand. On the other hand, I had this excitement rising up because we really did find something that was working. The problem is we haven't seen that. Forget about we haven't seen that performance. That's obvious. But we haven't seen that lineup and that scheme since that day. So we don't know if that scheme and lineup will actually work against better teams. Because, two of those pillars, Ceballos and Bellingham, are not in the team right now. Ceballos won't be for a while. Bellingham will be back soon, but he's suspended for tomorrow, obviously. By the way, hands down, the greatest carbonated water on planet Earth. Diego thinks it's too salty. He's wrong. We don't have this in Canada. Someone's got to import this. This thing is incredible. Vichy Catalan, shout out to you. But I think just the fact that we're missing so many pillars from that City game is the second reason why this is so difficult, right? You hope Asensio will play. I half joked about it, but you guys know I'm serious. If I roll up to the Bernabeu tomorrow and Asensio's on the bench, so there's going to be like a report in Il Chiringuito, riots outside the stadium, and then the camera's going to pan and it's like me leading the charge. It's going to be super annoying if that happens. He deserves to start. He's been our best center back this season. He should start. The other talking point I have is that if you look at so many of the derbies over the last few years, they all seem to like somehow end 1-1. Even the games the derbies that we look in full control, like we just kind of keep passing it around because like we're up 1-0 and Atletico have done nothing all game. Just something happens and they sneak in a goal at the end. So book it. If we're winning towards the end, I feel like I've seen that script before. Just focus, lock down, and kill the game off. Because you really don't want to go to the Metropolitano. Mehdi put it on Twitter. Like, our record at the Metropolitano is really poor. So, and this is not just an Ancelotti thing. This is a Real Madrid thing of in the Simeone era. So you really want to try to get the result in the first leg. I think it's going to be really tight both legs. And I'll conclude with this, because Lucas and I are going to be doing a live preview from the stadium itself. That'll be like probably 30 minutes long. I just wanted to get something out. This is a bonus episode for you guys. The last thing I will say is this. The Champions League factor, the mental edge over Atletico, I think is a real thing. I think the way that the brains of these two teams are wired are different in the two respective competitions, La Liga and Champions League. And I don't think we'll necessarily see it tomorrow. I think if we see it, it's going to be in the second leg if Atletico buckle and start thinking about that stuff. But I think tomorrow will be marginal either way. It's going to be draw or a very, very tight victory. I'm going to go with the 1-1, and then we scrape it out at the Metropolitano. That's my prediction. I should not have made that prediction. I don't like making predictions, but that's just my hunch right now. One last thing. Jude's absence. We spoke so much about Ceballos' absence over the last little bit. How much the team struggles on both ends without him. Brahim filled in for Jude last season when Jude had the shoulder injury and played the role to a T. But the schedule at that time was favorable. We weren't facing any elite opponents. And the last couple games where he's filled in for Jude, he just doesn't bring in the whole package that Jude brings to the table, obviously. And it's a bit unfair to blame it on Brahim and say hey, you need to perform like Jude Bellingham. We need to demand more from Camavinga and Tchouaméni. They need to help piece this together. If Modric gives us anything at this point, it's a bonus. You can't rely on him. Camavinga and Tchouaméni have to step up in the absences of Ceballos and Bellingham. And no excuses. Enough excuses, Growing pains. They're old enough now. They've been here for 3-4 years, respectively. They got to step up. So I'll close with that. We'll see you guys at the stadium. I think Lucas and I will be going live 45 minutes or so before the game. And we will stay pretty much streaming, I think, until about 10-15 minutes before kickoff. And then we'll wrap it up and then see you guys again after after the game. Thanks for tuning in. Kiyan Sobhani signing off, and see you tomorrow.